So will the Conservative caucus come to the negotiating table or risk getting left behind? Here to answer that question is Freedom Caucus member and member of the congressional delegation from the great state of Ohio, Warren Davidson. Congressman, good morning to you.
Good morning. Thanks for talking with me.
So what do you think the president is trying to do with these tweets? It sounds like he's steamed at you guys.
Yeah, I can understand his personality, taking this as a personal affront. He certainly got very helpful and productive in the negotiations. I think, you know, as people started talking about what's in this bill and what isn't in this bill, you know, people had a lot of concerns about what the bill didn't do. It didn't fully repeal it. It didn't fully replace it. It essentially solved the problem for the individual market differently than the Obamacare approach. And as conservatives started talking about it, the bill continued to get better. The original bill did not have work requirements, for example. So most Americans support a plan that has a safety net, but they like the plan that for able-bodied adults involves work, just because most Americans get their insurance from work. So there's improvements like that that have come along the way, and I think the president was helpful in getting it to move forward.
Congressman, I know you campaigned with the president in Ohio. Are you worried about going a different direction with the repeal and replace and how that's going to affect you with your next election?
No, I'm not really thinking about the next election. I'm thinking about solving this problem, and I think, you know, that's where this district is, and, you know, where I've been is, you know, we like President Trump, and we want to solve the health care problem. And right now, there's a lot of concern that this bill doesn't yet do it. But the reality is there's a lot of there was a lot of progress going forward, and I think kind of right now the concern I've got, started out as an infantry guy in the Army, and then spent the last 16 years in manufacturing, and kind of in both places, when you start blaming folks, you're not talking about the problem anymore, and you're not really focused on solutions.
Congressman Ted Poe told us he left you guys because he says you were never going to get to a no, and he goes, you have to understand you got to get to a yes. He didn't think you were negotiating in a way that was showing any flexibility. What's your response to that?
Well, you know, that's not how I experienced it. You know, I'm not sure which meetings he was in that I wasn't in, and you know, there's a handful of people that are, you know, on the more moderate end of the Republican Party that are never going to be a yes on this bill, and there's a handful of people on the more conservative end of the party that are never going to be a yes on this bill. But the vast majority of people that I know, and certainly where I've been, is we're looking for a way to say yes, because what we promised people is we were going to help solve the problem. And, you know, we're not going to be able to solve it within this context of a budget reconciliation path that gets one shot at repeal. This won't be fully repealed. And I think it's important for people to know that this is going to be a multi-phase effort, and if you can't take the tree down with one swing of the axe, you got to be committed.
Because you can't get 60 votes in the Senate. That's wwhy he did it. I think that Paul Ryan's as conservative as you. He has a more practical approach. You just don't see it that way.
No, I disagree. I understand. I think there's a buy-in to the process of a multi-phase approach. There are some people that aren't there. I'm fine with a multi-phase approach and incremental progress. We need first downs. But here's where this discussion is breaking down. So the Republican approach in the American Health Care Act shifts the safety net to a tax credit, a refundable tax credit. And moderates are concerned because that tax credit is less generous than the current approach. 24% of the able-bodied people that get Medicaid work full-time year-round. So in the American Health Care approach, to get the credit, you work, and it's lower, so people will be able to afford it. But the conservatives are concerned that you're not actually making it affordable. You got to take the cost down so people can actually afford it.
All right, well, let's see what happens. Congressman, thank you very much for joining us today from Cincinnati.
Thank you.
All right. Meanwhile, straight ahead, that coffee maker won't just brew your coffee, it'll sync up to your alarm clock and have a cup waiting for you, and it's yours for 74% off, but only if you stick around. Megan's going to explain it. Coming up next.